So, a woman in the UK murdered a man and only got 16 months in prison. This is absolutely crazy. Now, you can see those pictures, and I put the article in the description below if you want to read it. This is pretty awful. A woman killed her boyfriend or husband. It's not totally clear in the article. Basically, she beat him to death, and he died in the hospital of serious injuries. And he had brain damage, and she's only been given 16 months in prison. And this is an example of something I've talked about before. In the UK, there is a separate justice system for men and women, where men and women have different laws that apply to them when they commit crimes. And women are very frequently either exempt from prison or given very lenient sentencing. And we are seeing an example right now of someone committing murder and only getting 16 months. That's less than 2 years. That's less than a year and a half. And the more details you see about this case, the worse it gets. So again, I've linked the article down below so you can read the whole thing. And I know a lot of people don't like the Daily Mail as a source, but the thing is, the Daily Mail is one of the only news sources that actually covered this story. And you have to wonder, why did sources like The Guardian not cover this story? Anyway, in last night's episode of the Channel 4 show, 42-year-old Paul Jenner, the victim, from Houghton Regis, Bedfordshire, was found by police at his home with a severe brain injury on the 23rd of October, 2019. He was quickly... 2019, so this story is almost 2 years old. Why is it only coming out now? Anyway, he was quickly transferred to hospital, but doctors said the chances for his survival were slim. Okay, so right there from the onset, the doctor said his chances of survival were slim. So he was beaten or stabbed, and the article doesn't say, I can't find if she used a weapon or not, but either way, he was injured so badly, he was hurt so badly, the doctor said his chances of survival were slim. That in and of itself, just imagine if a man did that to a woman. Imagine if a man hurt his girlfriend or his wife so badly that the doctor said her chances of survival were slim. His partner, Sherry Nadeau, was seen smirking as she was arrested, like laughing, like it was funny, as she was arrested on suspicion of grievous bodily harm with intent after being accused of hospitalizing a partner who required urgent treatment for serious brain trauma after enduring 2 bleeds to the brain. So she injured him so badly that he had serious brain damage. He had internal bleeding in his brain, which is obviously very serious. So just right there, let me just say, anytime you hear feminists say things like, oh, domestic violence laws should be gendered or only apply to women because, well, men can do more damage to women than women can do to men, this story is an example of how women can absolutely do serious damage to men. If a woman picks up a knife or a hammer or a weapon, a woman can very easily seriously harm a man. Okay, and this is the first paragraph of the article about his actual death, and this is kind of relevant to the case, as you'll see in a bit. 24 hours in police custody, viewers were left heartbroken after a man, which of course is the victim, who was left fighting for his life following a violent incident at home, died from a heart attack 6 days later. Okay, so keep that in mind, what happened. He's 42 years old. And from the pictures, he looks like he's in shape. And 42 years old is not old. So he dies of a heart attack 6 days after he was given serious brain damage. Now, logically, you would think the two are connected, right? And it would seem like, okay, that's what caused the heart attack. He had serious damage to his body and his brain. So just keep that in mind for the next couple points coming up. Now here's this crazy and infuriating thing about this case, is that this happened before. She had gone to prison for beating him before. This is not the first time. Take a look. The incident took place just 6 days after Nadeau had been released following a 6-month prison sentence for another assault on him that required medical attention. I mean, just let me read that one more time. The incident took place just 6 days after Nadeau had been released following a 6-month prison sentence for another assault on him that required medical attention. And this is, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And then look at this. And police officer Alicia Lawrence, who had met Paul before, so probably she was one of the officers in the first assault, was posted to major crimes when his injuries proved fatal. And listen to this. This is a police officer saying this. And admitted she knew it would come to this. She knew it would come to this. So how serious was that first injury, that first assault that caused that 6-month sentence? Like, it must have been pretty serious if a police officer was saying she knew that it would come to his death. I mean, you know, you kind of, like, to me, when I read this whole story and I see all the details, there's just a major, like, what the heck is going on element to the story. And I'm just trying to imagine, if the genders were reversed, would it ever have been allowed to get to this point? Okay, so this is the sentencing. And remember, he died of a heart attack 6 days after he was assaulted and put in hospital. At court, Nadeau admitted assaulting Paul Jenner, but the judge ruled there was insufficient evidence to prove this was the cause of death. How? Instead, she was found guilty of actual bodily harm. Really? The judge accepted that her life had been extremely troubled and that she had also suffered domestic violence in a previous relationship, which should have nothing to do with this case. I mean, what does domestic violence in a previous relationship have anything to do with this one right now? It's completely irrelevant. But anyway, and then she was sentenced to 16 months in prison. Now, I was talking to someone earlier today, and they made a very good point. And what she said was that if you read the article, you'll see that the police were trying to get the guy to press full charges against the woman that hurt him, but he didn't want to do it, and that's why they weren't able to press the full charges to get a higher sentence. But here's the thing. If he had such serious brain injuries and he had bleeding in his brain, why did the police kind of leave that decision to him? If he had serious brain damage, it shouldn't have been his responsibility to press those kinds of charges. The brain damage in and of itself should have been enough for the police to press those kinds of charges. And I don't blame the police at all, because in the UK, this is the law. Again, the law is that women are treated more leniently. So the police really had no choice. So I don't blame the police. This is a problem of the law. And that's why this story is a men's rights issue. But anyway, I've linked the article down below. Read it. And I know people don't like the Daily Mail, but I mean, you can Google the name Paul Jenner and you can look up the story and see elsewhere online. It's really scary, because we've now reached the point where women in the UK can pretty much beat a man to death and get less jail time than a man would get for stealing a car. Now remember, there is an element of gender in this story. The fact that the UK court system has a different system for men and women, which is why she got such a lenient sentence, only 16 months, for killing her partner. Now, I'm going to put a link in the description to this post I made on Reddit. Reddit may have deleted my accounts, but they did not delete this post. So you can read it. I kind of break down how it works in the UK, how the courts have a different system for men and women. And it's kind of scary because it's like two different laws based on the gender you were born. But anyway, I think this is something that's really important, and I think this is something that's only going to get worse as time goes on. I mean, you have two different laws for people based on how they were born, on their gender, so it's going to cause problems, and that's what I think. So share your thoughts in the comments below.